Nations.
24 years ago now, I guess it was, I moved to Chattanooga and fell in love with the city, as I'm sure you have if you're a relative newcomer to town. Part of what I fell in love with was not just the scenery and the people, but the fact that our history here is preserved, not just in the landmarks and the buildings, but in the people themselves. So Linda Mines is back on the show with us this morning. She is the Hamilton County historian, and today we're going to take a trip down memory lane to 1960. Was it 69, Linda?
1960, February the 19th, 1960. Hard to believe.
Okay, and this is when the Howard students got together and said, you know what, we need to make a difference. Let's, as young people, work towards our own futures here.
That's exactly right. And we think back now that that's 61 years ago almost now, and to think about what courage and what moral courage in particular it took, in addition to the physical courage. But the 30 Howard High School students, having looked at some of the sit-ins that had occurred across the nation late in 1959, decided that they were going to stage a sit-in here in Chattanooga at Woolworth's. At that point, again, difficult for us to imagine today. There were separate accommodations based on race in restaurants and almost everywhere you went in the city and across the nation. So those students from Howard High School came together. Their student body president, who was Paul Walker, members of a calculus class, other students from across the student body, and they staged that sit-in. And let me tell you, the impact that it had on this city, we still feel today. And I do love, Julie, the twist that you put on that, because, we think so often of parents. We make decisions as parents because we envision this better future for our children. In this case, it was more difficult for the parents to step out and to push for that change, because with jobs, with positions in the community that depended sometimes upon the power structure, as difficult as it was for the young people, they were actually in a better place to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. And they changed Chattanooga. Names that we recognize today that were a part of that. Curtis is there with you. Eddie Holmes, Moses Freeman, Booker Scruggs, Lehman Pierce, Virgil Robinson. The names just roll off when we think about Chattanooga and Hamilton County history, and they were all participants in this sit-in at Woolworth's that changed the course of local history. When friends come together with justice in mind, the future can be changed.
There is somebody, and I won't mention who she is because that's not fair for me to do, but she's a white woman who used to come on the show pretty regularly, was a great friend of ours, and she would talk, I think I have this right, about going in to Woolworth's at that time. And as a white young person, she was not comfortable either with the tone of things. There were a lot of white people who didn't like this either, and they didn't know how to change it. And those students at Howard helped them get behind the movement as well.
That's so very true. We often look around and we see things that we know are not just, but knowing how to really change the law, change the practice is difficult. But there's something wonderful about unity and about young people coming together, older people coming together, and then they become a force to be contended with. Mm-hmm. And, I look back and I think 60 years ago, 61 almost now, the ability of high school students, most of the sit-ins that had occurred across the nation in late 59 were college students. But it was Howard High School students in that historic black high school that changed the temper of things in Hamilton County. What courage, but also what vision. And I think we need to remember all the positives that came out of this movement.
Well, and I want to be careful how I say things, but I'll tell you from my heart, when I reached out to you, I was hoping that our conversations could be to highlight kind of what happened here in Chattanooga that was united, that was a positive, because so often talk can turn to what isn't as opposed to what is. And there's a lot of good that's there. And that you mentioned all these fantastic names of these men who are the ones who are living, many of them still in town. I get to see it on a regular basis. They're still very close with each other, but the community as a whole embraced them. They were not shunned. They went on to great positions of leadership in town.
That's true. And, and it was difficult those first few years, but the truth of the matter is I do believe that all humans understand that need for rights, for equality, for a future, for being able to work together. And, as difficult, as much work as remains to be done, Chattanooga, one of the things I think that separates Chattanooga and Hamilton County from so much of the rest of the nation, maybe at times when we're talking about civil rights, is that there is a sense of unity. There are large elements of all racial groups, of all ethnic groups in this community that are willing to come together and talk and listen, with the purpose being to change things to make a better community.
Since you said talk and listen, often you and I have talked about the power of oral history, the importance of passing down those family stories to the generations. These men who you just listed, they are getting older. Do you hope that their stories can continue to be told from their perspective, not just somebody else's?
Oh my goodness, yes. And I think that's important. History makers, we did a video maybe now probably 10 years ago where there were interviews with them. But I also, I would encourage members of their families, but also just families across the community to sit down with your older family members, talk to them about what they remember, because for those who are high school students today, they were born in the 21st century. So much of this is ancient, appears to be ancient history, when in reality it was just yesteryear.
Right.
Those stories are so important to remember. I tell people all the time, as long as we tell the stories, as long as we say the names of these people who changed our lives, they never really die. And that's incredibly important. That's why we study history.
Well, it's always good to hear it from you, Linda, so thanks for the time this morning.
Oh, thank you, always.
And remind us of your Facebook page again, The Barefoot?
It's Barefoot Historian.
The Barefoot Historian. All right, thank you, my friends.
Thank you.
We're back after this.